What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to get into my A-League predictions for this upcoming 2025-26 season. We're doing the whole ladder prediction, and then we're going to do a few extras as well. As you can see on the board, I've got the grand final winners, my best signing, Johnny Warren, and the Golden Boot winner. So let's get stuck into it without a further ado. And it's always hard to pick kind of the bottom 6 teams, but I just feel how this team has operated this offseason, all the questions behind it, and then just losing the manager days out from the start of the season. It can't be anyone else but the Central Coast Mariners, in my opinion. Look, they've lost a lot of talent over the offseason. We have a look at the list here. Brian Kaltak, Alu Kual, Noah Smith, Will Wilson. Yes, most of these players didn't play that many minutes, but Mikael Docker, I think, is the biggest one to lose for the Mariners. And then, as I said, Mark Jackson leaving just days out from the start of the new campaign. So with all this turbulence, it's hard to ever write off the Mariners, right? You know, we wrote them off and then they went and won a treble a couple of years ago. So, you know, who really knows? But I think, for me, this is probably the safest pick to come last, but at the same time, they could end up winning the whole thing again. No one really knows at the moment. I'm recording this on Monday. No one really knows who their head coach is going to be. So, look, I'm going to have to put the Mariners last to start off. At the start of the season, at least. It could very well change. But to start off the season, I'm going to have them finishing last. Next up, finishing 11th. I'm predicting they didn't have the strongest of years last year, and I'm predicting that they're going to have another kind of weak year this year. You know, you don't really see many big ins for them at the moment, but I'm going to have to go with 11th place, the Wellington Phoenix. I can't see them climbing that high. Like, they've once again lost a lot of talent. Barbarouses is gone. That's massive. That's a lot of goals out of their squad. And then you look at Scott Wootton as well. He's gone. Sam Sutton, he's gone. Kolakovsky isn't coming back. Not that he played many minutes for Wellington in his tenure. But, like, Eze looks good. He's been pretty decent in preseason. And they did beat the Mariners 3-0 just on the weekend past. But other than that, no real signing grabs my attention. Yes, Miliuznich, Nazarene, Armiento can kind of all on their day provide something, but I just don't think it's consistent enough to push them into a final spot. Especially, like, all these teams can kind of interchange, but especially the bottom 6, I just don't see them making finals at the moment. So Wellington Phoenix, number 11 for me. Alright, finishing 10th for this season, I'm predicting another kind of mediocre season again from Perth Glory. The boys from out west, look, they've revamped their squad again. I just don't think revamping it this much, like such an overhaul and turnover of players, it cannot be good for any squad, right? David Drilic, he had a turbulent first season, I think that's to put it lightly, and I just don't see them really stepping up again this season. Yes, they have big ambitions as a club, and especially the new ownership group, but I cannot see them making finals. Yes, they brought in a lot of talent. You see their ins at the moment: Brian Kaltak, Sam Sutton, Scott Wootton. You know, 3 very versatile defenders in terms of their playing style. But at the same time, like, they rely too much on Adam Taggart, in my opinion. Kucharski, I think, is a great signing. I think he could light up the league this year. But, I don't know, nothing really springs, you know, quality out of this Perth side at the moment for me. So that's why I've got them 10th. I just can't see them making the top 6. And, you know, it's always difficult for a Perth side to make the top 6 because of how much travel they have to do. But, yeah, that's my opinion on Perth. Could very well change. Once again, all these kind of bottom 6 teams are interchangeable, but I just can't see them making finals, and 10th is where I've ended up with them. Now, this next selection may surprise a few people, and that is MacArthur. I've got them finishing 9th to start off the season. Yes, they've got a lot of talent and a lot of winners in their team. I think that's that's undeniable. You look at Luke Bratton, he's come back for another season. Caceres has joined the squad. You also got Damien De Silva in the squad now. Like, there's a lot of deep talent that, you know, breed winners. I think that's the key here. They've got winners in the squad. So I think this is my bottom 6 team I'm most likely to get wrong, in my opinion. I just think if they get on the same page, they're going to be top 6, maybe even top 4. But at the moment, I just think that every other squad has kind of impressed me more either in preseason. Yes, it doesn't really matter what happens in preseason. But I just don't see them kind of chugging along to a higher position at the moment. But they've also lost some big names out of their side. MacArthur, Keely Adamson, he's departed for Queen's Park Rangers. Jake Holman's also left for an overseas opportunity. Vujica, Nicolau, that's the majority of their kind of wide defenders that they use for last season. Interested to see how Harry Sawyer's used this year. Is he deployed a lot more than he was at the start of last season? I think so. I think he's probably going to be their main number 9 to start the season. But I don't know. MacArthur doesn't fill me with a lot of optimism at the moment, and that's why I've got him finishing 9th. Finishing 8th, just 2 spots out of finals. I'm going to have Adelaide United finishing in that position. Yes, Craig Goodwin is back. I think that's a massive signing, not just for Adelaide, but for the league, probably for Goodwin's career to be back in the A-League, especially ahead of a World Cup window at the end of this season. But you also look at the other names they've brought in. Yilian Kitaval, I'm not 100% sure if that's how you pronounce it, but he is coming back for his first season after spending last season, after he signed, back at Eindhoven over in the Netherlands. So interested to see what he brings to the side. By the looks of it, he's a very technical player. Him and Goodwin on either side, I think, could really cause some troubles for some teams this season. It's Adelaide. They haven't brought in a whole lot of names. They've really just promoted a lot of youth. Like, they have, 4 players coming in on a scholarship contract for this season. But once again, losing the experience of Isaias, Javi Lopez, I think that's 2 massive losses. As much as, you know, they weren't as good last season as they were in previous years gone by, I think having that little bit of experience is really going to play a part in Adelaide for this season. A lot of turbulence in the off-season as well, a lot of allegations thrown at the club, so interested to see what happens internally at the club as well. So I don't know, Adelaide doesn't really meet my standards for top 6 this season yet, but I guess with Goodwin back in the side, anything can happen, right? And then for me, finishing just outside of finals, and maybe a shock to some people, I have Sydney FC. Main reason for me having Sydney FC to finish 7th is I think Ufuk Talai will be the first manager to be sacked this season. That's my kind of bold take in terms of manager sackings. I think he will be the first one to go. Sydney FC fans already aren't a massive fan of Ufuk Talai after missing finals last year. Maybe how he treated some players as well, but their outs is enormous this season. You got Patrick Klimala, obviously end of loan. You kind of didn't expect him to re-sign. He didn't really set the world alight in his time in the A-League, but wasn't too bad. But you kind of expected him to go back after his loan. Jaden Kaczarski, gone. Max Burgess, gone. Anis Wahim, gone. Segicic, gone. That's huge. Caceres, gone. Leo Senna, Aaron Gerd, Douglas Costa. It's a massive out list, and a lot of players that played a lot of minutes for Sydney last year. Yes, they've brought in some talent. Alassane Torre, Patrick Wood comes back after his loan to Perth. Paul Ocon Angsler, I think that's going to be a real one to keep an eye out for. He could be kind of a dark horse for Young Player of the Year as well. Maybe not even a dark horse though. I think everyone's kind of aware of his potential. Abel Wallity and Ben Garuccio as well coming in from Western United. I think it just comes down to Ufuk Talai, how he sets up the team, how engaged he gets the players in buying into his philosophy. I don't see it happening. And for that reason, I've got them finishing outside the 6, And my first team inside the 6, maybe a bit of a bold prediction. A lot of people probably didn't expect them this high, but I've got Brisbane Roar. They've looked really solid in pre-season. They've made a lot of good signings, in my opinion, a lot of smart signings as well. I'm a massive fan of that Matt Dench signing for Brisbane Roar. So I think that's one to keep an eye out for. Little sneaker. Sam Klein's got another season under his belt as well. Obviously, they've got the new head coach in Valkanis as well. He seems to, have a bit more tactical nuance in terms of other managers that they've had recently. We'll leave it there. Michael Roos has been on an absolute tear. And I just think it's a better feeling amongst Queensland supporters coming into this season for Brisbane Roar. Yes, they've had their struggles recently. There's no denying that they've really struggled in recent seasons, and Suncorp still probably isn't the ideal venue for them going forward. But I think there's a bit more optimism. They've done a regional tour pretty much in their preseason, which I think is smart. It's smart to get back engaged with the community. They had a big crowd up at the Sunny Coast for that preseason game. I think it was against the Mariners. I'm just a pretty solid fan of like the work that they've done, and kind of killing out some of that talent that maybe wasn't good enough or wasn't getting the minutes, and just getting them off the wage bill. Lucas Harrington as well, leaving in January, so they've only have him for the next kind of first 10 game weeks, I think it probably would be around, before he heads over to the States. So Brisbane Roar, I'm a fan of what they've done so far in the off-season, so I'm going to put them 6th. And then coming in just above them, got 2 big risers in the bottom 2 spots of the top 6, and I'm going to go with the Newcastle Jets to finish in 5th place. The Australia Cup winners, they had an unbelievable off-season, and some of the talent they've brought in as well is just ridiculous. We look at the list here: Alex Badalato, Max Burgess, James Delianov in goal as well. They've really invested in kind of that youth structure. Like, obviously they had it last year under Rob Stanton, and now under Mark Milligan, they really seem to be doubling down on local young talent and really buying in to the Newcastle culture. And a lot of the fans have bought in, especially in that Australia Cup run. So it's going to be interesting to see how McDonald's Jones Stadium is the first couple of home games, because you'd expect it to be a decent crowd. I think if numbers kind of dwindle early, I think it might play a part in how they go this season. But if the Newcastle fans get behind them and get behind the Australia Cup winners, I think we could be in for a pretty good season if you're a Jets fan, in my opinion. Mizunuma coming back for a second season as well, I think is absolutely huge. He was absolutely class towards the back end of that A-League campaign. Yes, he's a bit older, maybe doesn't have the minutes in the legs anymore, but quality like that you can't deny at any stage. Starting off the top 4 and finishing in 4th place, I have last year's grand final winners, Melbourne City. They've lost a lot of talent as well, as kind of A-League clubs do over the off-season. Ugarkovic has gone, Politidis, Talbot, James Jago has retired, Tilio's gone back overseas, and Jonathan Cohen, the scorer that won them the whole grand final, right? But once again, kind of that buying into the youth strategy for Melbourne City. We saw it work so well last season, especially when heaps of their big names were out, right? Like Naboot, when Lecky was out. These young kids, they stepped up, and I think if you double down on that for City this year, I think they could be in for another good season. That's what they've done. They've re-signed Caputo to another longer-term deal. He's there till 2028. Lapane, they've re-signed him as well. So Pryan, I think, is a big inclusion back for this season. And they've also got the likes of Kai Truan still there, bringing up a couple of academy players as well. Beckham Baker, obviously the big name that everyone kind of knows from their youth squad. Unbelievable talent, so interested to see how many minutes he gets in the legs this season for the A-League side. But then you've also got Lawrence Wong, who's back for another season. I think that's massive. And I'm a big fan of City and what they're doing in terms of developing the youth, and I think if they double down on it this year like they look to be doing, I think they're in for a good season. So 4th for me at the moment. Finishing in 3rd for me, I have last year's premiers. I have Auckland FC. Yes, they have made some unbelievable signings. Sam Cosgrove, I think, is the pick of the bunch. I think he could be in for a big season. Lockie Brook as well coming in. I think that's massive. And Jade Gerwood-Reich coming in on loan. How good is that signing for Auckland FC? But there's also a lot of outs for Auckland FC as well. Nader Moreno, Max Mata, Alex Paulson. That's a massive out. Gone back to Bournemouth and then obviously loaned back out as well. Lewis Toomey, Tommy Smith, the closer, as it was last season. Luca Rogerson, the only re-signing from last year for Auckland FC. Obviously a new squad, so not many re-signings. But I think Paulson, Moreno and Tommy Smith, obviously the bigger ones that they're going to miss in this upcoming season. But they've kind of replaced them with similar, if not better, players, in my opinion. Gerwood-Reich, mate, he's younger. He's going to be better, in my opinion, at centre-back than Tommy Smith. Lockie Brook maybe could do a bit better in the A-League than Nader Moreno. Nader Moreno scored some unbelievable goals. But Lockie Brook can really switch it on when he's in the mood. And then Sam Cosgrove, I think, will have a terrific season here. So it's hard to put them 3rd. The way I'm talking about them, they should be premiers and should be winning it even better. Wouldn't surprise me if they end up that way. But at the moment, I just think there's 2 better sides than them from pre-season standings. And Auckland have to finish 3rd for me. And finishing 2nd, I haven't gone too biased, but I've got the Western Sydney Wanderers. My team, the Wanderers, a great pre-season. I think they have really strengthened their squad. Obviously, the big out, Juan Mata is gone for the Wanderers, but you also bring in Costa Barbarouses, you bring in Steven Ugarkovic, you bring in Angus Thurgate, Alu Kuol, Phil Kankar. I think these are big ins for the Wanderers, like Thurgate especially, I think is huge. I just hope that we use him in the correct way and we just haven't kind of bought him in because he was available. So I hope we use him correctly. I think we will. There's no way you bring in a player like Angus Thurgate and don't use him correctly. Costa Barbarouses, on his day, one of the best strikers in the A-League, but will he kind of work up top in that Wanderers squad? That's what we've kind of got to work out. Oz Cup against Penpel, he looked pretty good. Him and Kraev really linking up well, but I'm not sure. But also some big outs for the Wanderers as well. Nick Milanovic going overseas to Aberdeen, Antonsen, Clisby, Pelikanos all gone. Sapsford, he's off as well. Badalato, Marcus Eunice, Oscar Priestman as well. Like, there's some big outs. Interesting to see how the Wanderers do. I'm pretty optimistic coming into this season as a Wanderers fan, so I'm going to put them 2nd. But that means there is only one team left, and I have gone, maybe as a little bit of a shock to some people, but I've gone for Melbourne Victory. Something about them, they haven't had the greatest off season. Obviously, losing Machach, they lost Arzani, they lost Teague, they lost Boss, they lost Fornaroli. Like, there's some big players that they lost, but also kind of the talent they've brought in my opinion, kind of counteracts that. Jelacic, I think we'll see him get back to his best. He wasn't at his best in Brisbane. I think we'll see him improve this season. Juan Mata, massive signing. Hopefully he's used a bit more in this Victory side than he was at the Wanderers. Unfortunately, sad to see him leave the Wanderers, but hopefully he tears the league apart in Victory, to be honest. Matt Grimaldi, a massive signing, probably the pick of the bunch that have left Western United, but he's an unbelievable talent. Jason Davidson back into the A-League. I think that's a massive signing for Victory. Really shore up their defense. You see the re-signings as well. Luka Kolic, I think, one to keep an eye on. I think he's going to absolutely rip the league apart, especially going forward for Victory. Miranda's back, Adama Traore back, Josh and Sarah, he's back, and Santos as well. I think they've built a better squad, in my opinion. Yes, they've lost some big names like Machach, Arzani, and Teague, but I think they've probably strengthened. I think they're in real danger of winning the whole league and maybe even doing a double. I think they've really had that good of an off-season. That's why I've gone with Melbourne Victory first. There you go. There is my A-League ladder for this upcoming 25-26 season. Now, I'm notorious for not picking the best A-League ladder, so take this with I wouldn't even say a pinch of salt, a mountain of salt, because I normally get them completely wrong. But let's move on to the little special categories that I've made. And I'm going to start off with the grand final winners. And I think this team's going to finally break their hoodoo. And I think it's going to be the Western Sydney Wanderers. I think we're going to finally win our first A-League grand final, win our first championship. It's been a long time coming, but I think this squad is good enough to win at least one trophy this season. Obviously, we bowed out pretty quickly in the Australia Cup to Heidelberg, ended up being runners-up of the competition, but I just think that they're good enough to, I think they're too good to not to win at least a trophy this season. So, gone with Victory to win the regular season, and I think the Wanderers will win the grand final. Next up, Johnny Warren. And I think this player kind of plays into that grand final win, and that is Angus Thurgate. Now, it all kind of depends on if Stajic plays him correctly, right? If he's played correctly, he's going to be a massive boost for the squad. But it's kind of hit and miss. It's either going to go it's going to go really well or really badly. He was, in my opinion, robbed of probably the Johnny Warren last year. I think he was that good last year. So I think in a better team than Western United were last year, in my opinion, I think he should be favourite to win the Johnny Warren, in my opinion. Golden Boot, and I harped on about him a bit in their team's preview, but I'm going to go Sam Cosgrove for Golden Boot. I think bringing his experience over to the A-League is going to be absolutely massive for Auckland. It wouldn't surprise me if he single-handedly wins them the league or a trophy this season. So I think Sam Cosgrove will have a absolutely monumental season. Who knows? He could break all kinds of records this season. And then for my best signing of the season, you'd probably expect me to go Cosgrove if I've picked him in the Golden Boot, right? But I have not. I've switched up again, and I'm going to go with Dennis Jonro for best signing. Now, I didn't mention him in the Melbourne Victory preview, but that's because I think he's going to be the best signing in the whole league. I think he's going to revolutionise that Victory midfield. Yes, they've lost Teague, but I think Dennis Jonro is that good that they're going to take him to the next level. And I think single-handedly he could win Victory the league this year. And I'm going Dennis Jonro for best signing. I think he's that good. But there we have it. There is all of my predictions for the upcoming A-League season. Let me know if you agree with them down in the comments below. Let me know what your A-League ladder looks like, and let me know what your other predictions look like as well. Let me know your grand final winner. Let me know your Golden Boot, Johnny Warren, best signing. Let me know all that down in the comments below. Thank you all for watching. Enjoy the A-League season, and I'll see you next time.